Well, I promised you more reaction to the WSL fixtures for the coming season. The former Liverpool forward Courtney Sweetman-Kirk can talk to us. Courtney, always great to see you. Hope you're having a good summer. Great opening weekend with that blockbuster Arsenal-Manchester City live on Sky Sports. Vivianne Miedema against her old club. City was so close, weren't they, last season? Could she be the difference?
Yeah, I think she could. She's an incredible player, first and foremost, and as a former centre forward myself, to see the way she plays the game, the amount of goals she scores, but actually what she's added to a game in recent years. And but I don't think as well people realise the amount of assists that she contributes as well. So I think that's massive. And I think when you look at Man City last year, when they lost Bunny Shaw at the back end of the season, they weren't as clinical as they were, didn't quite score as many goals. And I think, you know, if she was fit, or if they had another striker like Miedema at that point in time, they might have got themselves over the line. So, yeah, it's a massive signing. And I'm glad personally that she's still going to stay in the WSL and we get to watch her on a regular basis. Absolutely.
Exciting games on the final day as well. Arsenal against Manchester United, and your old side, Liverpool, away to Chelsea. And we saw what can happen when Liverpool meet Chelsea towards the end of last season.
Yeah, it was incredible. I was actually downstairs in the studio with the WSL team watching that. We couldn't believe what we were seeing. It was an incredible season, I think, for Liverpool, and Matt Beard has done such a fantastic job. And I think this one now is the real test for Liverpool. It's the next step, isn't it? When you do well in a season, it's about that consistency. Can you keep that up? Can you go one step further? And yeah, they've got fantastic facilities now as well. I think that's important for Liverpool. And they've certainly shown what they can do this season. It's about that consistency. But obviously, Sonia Bonpastor coming into Chelsea won't be taking any team lightly. She'll know how strong the WSL is.
A big game for Liverpool on the penultimate weekend of the season, when you got three derbies on the same weekend, that Merseyside derby, the Manchester derby, and Tottenham-Chelsea as well.
Yeah, I think derby days, as you mentioned, as me, a former Liverpool player, the derby days, the Merseyside derby is always the one you look for. As soon as the fixtures come out, you see where they're at. So it's always an exciting time on Merseyside for that. But in general, as you say, obviously you've got the Manchester derby too, and Spurs Chelsea. And I think as a player, they're the big games that you always look for when the fixtures come out. They're the ones that you always want to play in. I think you play so many games in your career, you don't always remember all of them. But certainly the big games like that are the ones that stick in the back of your mind.
Who do you make as title favourites, Courtney? Is it Chelsea again? New era under Sonia Bonpastor might take a little bit of settling in, maybe?
Potentially, but I think when you look at that squad of players, they're winners. You know, a lot of players they've retained. Sam Kerr being retained, I think, is massive, and missing her for large parts of the season with ACL injury last season. And that's what always impressed me last season more so about Chelsea. It was the amount of injuries they had, but they still found a way to win. And I think that was mightily impressive. So they've kept the core of that squad. And yeah, adding a freshness in with Bonpastor. But I think it's obviously when you have such a tenure that Emma Hayes did, the players are used to that, how she trains, how she plays, everything within the squad, within the day-to-day training. So it's certainly going to be a bit of a learning curve for both manager and player. So I'm very excited to see how that goes. And I think what we can say about Emma Hayes and her legacy, though, is what she left, the structure she left in place in that club will certainly make it quite easy for Bonpastor to step in, although it's a massive trainers to fill, isn't it?
I'm very excited to see Lucy Bronze back in this country.
Yeah, and I think Chelsea, they never got away from the fact that the Champions League, that's the one they want. And Lucy Bronze has mentioned that, obviously a serial Champions League winner, but never done it with an English side. So she's got so much experience. She's got so much to bring still in terms of her athleticism, the technical ability on the ball. But that experience of winning the Champions League, that might be the one that does get Chelsea over the line.
What about Manchester United? Mary Earps, Katie Zellum leaving. Mark Skinner had to take quite a bit of flack at times last season, got a little bit tetchy at times with some of the questioning. He's got a one-year contract extension. What do you think?
Yeah, it's tough. I think if you were to win the FA Cup and not get the extension, I think that's one of those where you can make the argument for it either way. I think you're right in terms of the league. it was disappointing for Manchester United, very disappointing season. And the fact that you go and lose your talisman in someone like Mary Earps, a fantastic goalkeeper that's kept them in numerous games since she's been there. So it's going to be tough. It's a hard player to replace. And I think they certainly could have done with holding on to Mary Earps, because I felt like Manchester United last season were in a transition season, and I think it was important for them to try and hold on to their key players and then add to that. And it's not quite happened that way. So I think it's going to be a really difficult season for them. But as we know, not just on the women's side and the men's side as well, I still think it's a place that is not quite settled. It doesn't know where it's at. Obviously, the women now not being in their training facility as well, because everything that's happened at Carrington, it's certainly going to be a difficult season for them, I think.
Looking at it from a Mary Earps point of view, she's seen Hannah Hampton claim an England shirt when she was available. Is the move to PSG a good one for her?
I think so. I think first and foremost, Mary Earps is someone that deserves to be playing at the top level, competing for trophies. She'll be able to do that at PSG. I don't think it's like days of old where if you go abroad, that hinders your England chances. That, you know, we're playing in a very different era now. So I think the most important thing, as always, as a player trying to be selected for your country, is to play consistency. And I'm sure that Mary will be able to do that. And I think it's an exciting chapter for her as well, a new club, a new league, a new city.
Given those departures, how important is it that Nikita Parris is staying?
Yeah, it's massive, because you need experience within that squad. That's going to be key for them. She had a good season, actually, Nikita Parris. Scored some goals. And again, when she actually got the transfer to Manchester United, I think there was a bit of stick there. But I think she's proved people wrong in terms of the ability that she still has. So, as I said, I think Manchester United, it's key. You've got to try to hold on to as much experience as possible. And obviously, in terms of transfers in, you've got to bolster that squad. But I think a lot of it's very much at opposite ends with Manchester United. They've got quite, experienced players, maybe coming towards the latter end of their career, and a lot of young, promising players. So for me, they need to fill that gap in between. So, yeah, that's certainly a job for the hierarchy to bring those type of players in, I think.
You've played across the leagues in women's football over the years. What about Reading, withdrawing from the Championship, playing in the 5th tier now, struggling financially? It's only a couple of years ago since they were challenging for 5th, 6th in the WSL.
Yeah, it's tough, and I remember a lot of times in my career playing against Reading, so I think it's really hard. We're still in a place with women's football where it's great. The trajectory is going upwards for a lot of clubs, but we need to understand that that's not the case for all clubs. So in terms of where they are and financially, I think it's disappointing. And for me, it just further bolsters the fact that we need to look after the full pyramid. Obviously, the WSL is the crown jewel, and there's some fantastic work being done both in the Championship and at the WSL level. But we need to protect and look after our pyramid to make sure that women's football can thrive for years to come.
Absolutely. Great to get your take on all that, Courtney. Thanks very much indeed. Looking forward to seeing you again when the new season starts.